the cleanest of clean finishers from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
3, 2, 1, lights are out. Let's go. We start that way because today we've got our staple, the Formula One report, proudly brought to you by Zimoco, where Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc says Carlos Sainz's euphoria at getting a chance to race for Ferrari in Formula One has helped lift the mood of the whole team. That comes up straight after the big story of the day, and the team looking at it are Mike Madoda, Chris Midzi, Alice Bunjira is here. My name is Barry Manandi. Our producer, of course, is Sean Tafirenyika. What is that big story? Well, it's on the home front, and the juggernaut that is Dynamos has hit choppy waters with reports that the country's biggest club has suspended goalkeepers coach Gift Muzadzi and goalkeeper Simba Chinani amidst allegation of insubordination and sabotage. This is the same Dynamos that gets into action on Sunday.
We'll have international sports news for you when we take you around the world in 60, starting off in Wales, where British and Irish Lions head coach Warren Gatland has announced his technical team for this year's tour of South Africa. In England, Tyson Fury believes a much anticipated heavyweight bout with Anthony Joshua will 100% happen, and that a date and venue will be known in the coming days. And in the United States, Steph Curry passed Wilt Chamberlain as the all-time leading goal scorer in Golden State Warriors history as he erupted for 53 points in a victory over Denver Nuggets early this morning.
And because it's Tuesday's Top Hit Tuesday, don't miss out on our play of the day. And then we get into the beautiful game in the second half of the show, which kicks off on the continent with the Africa Report, where the quarterfinal lineup for the CAF Champions League is complete after the group stage was completed this past weekend. In other news, CAF President Patrice Motsepe has launched a Pan-African School Football Championship to be played in 6 African zones. Being a Tuesday, we'll also dip into France, where Christophe Gaultier has admitted trying to guide Lille to the Ligue Untitled this season is the biggest challenge of his career, with the outsiders 3 points clear at the top of the table. And then in the UEFA Champions League, the second leg of the quarterfinals get underway tonight, and holders Bayern Munich, who are staring down the barrel of elimination, will endeavour to overturn a 3-2 deficit on the road to PSG.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis. From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
0731168045. That's a number right here in the studio. Why don't you give us a WhatsApp message? Send us a WhatsApp message. I don't know if you give us a WhatsApp message, I don't know what we'd do with it. But you need to do is send us a WhatsApp message and let us know exactly what's on your mind. We're talking Dimbare Chazungu's Ainangozi Dynamos Football Club. They seem to be in turmoil. But in the second half of the show, we've got, of course, the Champions League report, because it's a Champions League night. And Vixa Heng of Kadoma, I hope I got your name right. He's already got in early with his prediction. He reckons it's going to be PSG 3, Bayern 2. Identical result to the last time that they played, meaning that PSG will go through to the next round of the Champions League. But that's for later. What is for now is for us to talk the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. And we're talking Dynamos Football Club. As I said, they have reportedly suspended goalkeepers coach Gift Muzadzi and goalkeeper Simba Chinani for alleged insubordination and sabotage. In an official statement last night, Dynamos confirmed the suspension of Muzadzi while disowning Chinani, despite the coach's interest in retaining his services. So it looks like the goalkeeping department is having a few challenges at Dynamos, Mike, because a goalkeeper gone. They say that he was never contracted. His contract ran out in 2020. 2020. They didn't renew it and had no intention of renewing it. Then the goalkeepers coach is told to send packing as well for alleged insubordination for asking for his money.
Well, the story that's doing the rounds, Barry, is that Chinani, of course, he went over to Russia. I think he had a couple of trials outside of the country. And Dynamos weren't too happy with that, because had he been successful, he would have left on a free as a result of him not being contracted to Dynamos. But here now, they are, of course, sending him packing because they are unhappy with that situation. And what surprises me is that these clubs don't listen to what Alois Munjira has been railing about for a long time. If you value an asset, if you value a player, if you want to make money from a player, give him a long-term contract, which means that you as a club are going to be in control if anything that happens should a foreign club show any interest in signing your player. If you're not giving these players long-term contracts and you keep giving them year-by-year contracts, it's only inevitable. And I don't blame Chinani for wanting to go to Russia on a free, because one, his agent makes more money. He is probably going to make more money as well in the ensuing negotiations. So I think it's a lesson for our clubs that if you have got players that you value, give them long-term contracts. Yep. Why are you going year by year? So they got nothing to complain about as far as Chinani is concerned. And that is victimization, to be honest, for a mistake that they made as a club. And as for Muzadzi, there's nothing wrong with demanding your money. Nothing wrong with demanding your dues. You are the biggest club in the land. You've got sponsors. Pay the man his due. I know there is no football being played at the moment, but this guy is working for you. He represents Dynamos. He's a son of Dynamos. He's a Dynamos legend. He is due a pay packet from Dynamos. This thing of saying, oh, listen, let's wait until we've got a definitive plan to pay our workers. That just shows the unprofessionalism that is at Dynamos, and that is bedeviling the majority of our football clubs.
You were listening there to the succinct, dulcet tones of Mike Madoda.
Was I singing?
At Mike Madoda is his handle on social media. He's mentioned there Alois Munjira. He's in the studio as well at Gazaman14. Of course, Chris Midzi is here at Chris Midzi. Mine is at Barry Manandi. And then if you want to get a hold of those that keep the show ticking, at Tatenda Ziambi runs our digital. And then, of course, there's at Sean Tafirenyika. The big one that you should all remember, follow and interact with, is at ZiFM Sport. Alois, Mike makes a fine point that Dynamos certainly whipped out the gun, loaded it, and then pointed it at their foot and shot.
Yeah, of course, Mike is definitely right, because look, where were they when the contract was expiring and they expected the boy to say, I'm going for a trial, let me sign with you now. That was done by Prince Dube. We remember Prince Dube, when he was supposed to go out, he had to sign a contract first with. It comes with loyalty. It comes with what you do for the player. He can actually do that. But when there's a situation whereby you were not loyal to the player, you have not been good to the player, he has got a situation whereby he is a free agent. There's no way that he is going to come to you and say, you know what, I want you to benefit, let me go. So they were supposed to actually understand that they are the ones that didn't give him a contract and it expired, and he got an opportunity when he didn't have a contract. He is free to do what he likes at that particular time. So you can't then victimize him because you say, because you were supposed to give us first preference. First preference to do what when someone is going for Russia trials.
Do you think the clash also between the club, and by club we're talking about the executive, the administrators and all sorts, and Gift Muzadzi, who's now been suspended, goes beyond necessarily the issue of him asking for his dues and asking for his money, but also extends to the fact that they had such ill feelings towards Simba Chinani. And here's Gift Muzadzi, the goalkeeper's coach, saying that this is the goalkeeper that I want between the sticks. And then there was already a clash there. So when he asked for his salary, it became an issue that, okay, you're a rebel, and we're going to get rid of you.
Yeah, I think that was the case, Barry, because he is the one who gets to choose which goalkeeper does they want, which goalkeeper is replacing him anyway. Because you can actually see with his packet was not feelings. Goalkeeper, there's no other goalkeeper to replace him. They're already chasing away the goalkeeper. So you can actually see that somewhere in the background there was altercations that happened that gave rise to this situation right now. Mariang, I think, is now a scapegoat to actually make the suspension later look nicer and to actually be reasonable to the public and to the fans. But actually, I think that there was something to do with Chinani and Umbro got into crossfire.
Guys, you know I like to put positive spins on things, and I want to put a positive spin on this. The fact that Dynamos is having all sorts of problems just before a quote-unquote cup final is a sign that football is returning to Zimbabwe, because Dynamos in the lockdown period was not having any problems whatsoever. Now football is well on its way, and Dynamos will take on Highlanders this coming Sunday in the Uhuru Cup, the Independence Day Cup at the National Sports Stadium. And we caught up with Ulayo-based football pundit Muziwetu Khadebe, who gave us his thoughts on this season opener.
With Zimbabwe just 9 years shy of a half a century in terms of its independence, the Independence Cup always becomes very important as we try to reflect on the past as well as look into the future. It's particularly important for soccer, as football has always played a big part on this day in terms of marking the celebrations, especially for these two giants of Zimbabwean football, as they have always taken the opportunity to pride themselves and play for pride and play also for that bragging right after any win in this particular tournament. But most importantly as well, they've used it to usher in new players, youngsters that probably would not be knowing. I remember a few years back when Highlanders sent a second string side led by Tapiwa Kapini. It was to be the emergence of Tapiwa Kapini onto the top flight of football. So you can always count on new players coming into the scene on this particular day. The same applies for Dynamos when they ushered in the likes of Begi Muloja for him to come and shine as well in a top flight of football. But this time around, there is a lot of signing from the two teams. You're looking at Winston Mango, who played for FC Platinum, brilliant holding midfielder. Does he still have the skill? If he plays, is something that the fans can look forward to. But in terms of youngsters, Highlanders also have Cardwell Gawaza. He's a centre back. He captained Poso 19 in the Division 1. That was in the 2019 soccer season. He has been promoted into the first team. It will be interesting if they are going to field him. On the other hand, Highlanders, Dynamos, I should say, have the likes of King Nadolo as well as Tinashe Makanda. Both have been at Highlanders, especially for Makanda in 2019 playing for Highlanders. Is he going to be like Makunji Somapiri, who moved from Highlanders to Dynamos and then did well at the Glamour Boys? It's going to be interesting if he is going to rise to the occasion and if he is going to play this particular day on Independence Day. But these teams are coming having not played football. We have not had football, so every fan is looking forward to this game. This marks the return of football in Zimbabwe, and many a fan will be looking forward to. But there are challenges to go with it in terms of how fit the players are, but nonetheless both teams would want to win this one, making it a great occasion once more for Zimbabwean football.
So we've spoken about Dynamos. They are one half of the duo that will do battle on Sunday in the Independence Day Cup. The other half of that is black and white. Highlanders, Matengwani Boso, cry Matengwani, cry. And they are sort of cock-a-hoop at the moment on the basis that they started their training yesterday at White City Stadium and have two exciting players amongst their ranks to add to an already, I would say, potentially entertaining roster of players. Those two, of course, being former Bulawayo City players Toto Banda and Crispin Lube. Chris.
Yeah, those are some of the new faces that were at training at White City Stadium yesterday. And Banda actually had a stint with Haumine, and then he also played for FC Lupopo in the DR Congo. And Ngube is probably set to fill the right back position, and that position has been somewhat vacant since the departure of Clive Peary at the beginning of last year. So 2 players that are going to be plugging some important holes for Highlanders.
Muzi makes a fine point, Mike, about the fact that games such as these, albeit that they are important for bragging rights, are also big opportunities to have a look at your new recruits, have a look at some of the younger players that you're blooding in, and see how they do in quotation marks, under pressure, because I'm not sure what sort of pressure you get in the empty stadium.
Yeah, listen, I know a lot of people are going to be talking about the players. They want to see the players perform, but I'm more interested in the performance of the 2 managers, or the 2 coaches, as we call them in this part of the world. That is Tonderai Stanzandiraya as well as Mandla Mpofu. I think they are 2 coaches with a lot to prove. They are 2 coaches that have to win over their fan bases, because there is a bit of doubt amongst the fan bases as to whether Tonderai Stanzandiraya is the man to actually take Dynamos forward and challenge FC Platinum for the title, and also amongst the Highlanders faithful as well, who think Mandla Mpofu is a bit lightweight. Now, this is the perfect opportunity. You win this game, you lift a bit of pressure off your shoulders, and you buy yourself a bit of time, and you win over the fan base that you've got at the respective teams that they are managing. So I would be interested to see tactically how these teams are set up during the Independence Cup final. In terms of intensity, I don't expect much. The teams will only have had 1 week of training under their belts. So, but still, in terms of just the layout and the organization, I think it'll be something interesting to note or observe what the 2 coaches are going to come up with.
Alois, very quickly from you, we find that Dynamos and Highlanders, albeit that they're kicking the season off with the Independence Day Cup, are the 2 teams, like Mike mentioned, they've only had a week of training as a result of them testing last and going for vaccination last. Is that a message to the administrators, to the hierarchy at the Premier Soccer League from the 2 biggest teams in the land?
Yeah, I don't know why we have been waiting for this long. I don't know why we thought that the season was not going to kick off. I don't know, but we are going to play. Yeah, they are going to play. And like Mike said, there won't be any intensity in that game. You know, especially second half. I'm looking at a second half that is going to be very dry. You know, looking at the state of the National Sports Stadium is very heavy, and these players are going to be fatigued.
Nonetheless, Zimbabwean football will be back on our screens. Tragically, we won't be able to troop across to the National Sports Stadium, but football will be back in Zimbabwe as of Sunday. It's the Uhuru Cup, Independence Day Cup. We're going to preview it for you later in this week, so stay tuned to ZiFM Sport. But for now, our local sports news roundup is next.
Hi, this is Alexandra Maseko, and I'm the national basketball team captain, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
That local sports news roundup starts with rugby, where Zimbabwe international rugby player Ngoni Chibue says he's happy to have played his first game for his Europe-based side Steaua Bucharest in Romania over the weekend. The Mutare-born 25-year-old centre, who has been capped by both the Zimbabwe Sevens and national 15s team, the Sables, says he's happy to have made his debut appearance in Europe. In cricket news, Zimbabwe cricket prodigy Tadiwanashe Marumani, who we spoke about yesterday, has won the plaudits of his coach Shepard Makunura after hitting back-to-back half-centuries in T20 action for Southern Rocks in the domestic competition. The former Zimbabwe under-19 player was the toast of the day after guiding Southern Rocks to a comfortable 7-wicket win over Tuskers yesterday. This was their second victory in as many games in the competition, which began at the weekend. Marumani was unbeaten on 63 as Rocks successfully chased down Tuskers 141 for 6 with 19 balls remaining. And we wrap it up with mixed martial arts news, where Sylvester Chifumbu's remarkable rise in the Extreme Fighting Championship EFC is set to continue after he secured a shot at the coveted EFC Bantamweight Championship against South African title holder Faiz Jacobs in May, in what will be one of the biggest fights of his career. Jacobs, who was yet to get his first title defense since winning the belt in August last year, now gets to do so against the rumbling Chifumbu, nicknamed the Gladiator.
Hit after hit. Lock it on.
Do me one thing, me no move with the crowd. Move with the crowd, me no move with the crowd.
It's the world's best music on Z. We are Z. My station. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Well, let's give you Formula One news. And Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc says Carlos Sainz's euphoria at getting a chance to race for Ferrari in Formula One has helped lift the mood of the whole team. After a difficult 2020 campaign where the Scuderia finished 6th overall, the team has appeared to make some good progress this season, with both Sainz and Leclerc finishing in the points in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Let's hear from Charles Leclerc, who spoke about his responsibility for Ferrari this season.
I don't feel so much more responsibility compared to last year. I mean, the team is still very similar to last year. In a way, there's still Seb inside the team, which is a 4 times world champion. So until he will be here, I don't know. He has achieved so much more than I did in the sport. So it's difficult to feel that way. But on the other hand, I am well aware that I need to help the team to build a strong future. And at the moment, I'm the only best driver in the team that has a long-term partnership with the team. So we need to work well, and this I know that it's my responsibility to lead the team in the right direction in terms of development. But that doesn't change much to the work I was doing before, in a way that I'm just explaining what are the issues in the car, what is limiting me to go faster.
Well, Chris, one of the things that was very obvious last season, in fact, over the last couple of seasons, is that the mood at Ferrari had become progressively negative. The drivers like Sebastian Vettel, they lacked the inspiration, they lacked the go to really give this car a go in the different Grand Prix that they were racing in. So this is a good starting point when both drivers are confident and are enthusiastic about the season.
Yeah, definitely a good start. I think Charles Leclerc actually points to the fact that Carlos Sainz came in and he had such a positive attitude about everything. He's sort of brought a different energy into the team, and that definitely bodes well for Ferrari. I think something else that we could hear when he was speaking earlier was the fact that he's putting a very firm stamp on the fact that he is the number one.
Well, Barry, let's discuss that. The fact that he is the number one. Is he? Because, you know, there are various pundits and former drivers. Jacques Villeneuve, for example, has come out and he has warned Leclerc to watch out for Sainz, because Sainz is not going to be a pushover.
For sure. And Carlos Sainz has honed his skills in teams that didn't have the glare that he now has at Ferrari, didn't have the quality of vehicle that Ferrari has now. And I know a lot of Formula One fans out there might say, oh, does Ferrari have a competitive vehicle? I think so. Look at Carlos Sainz in the last Grand Prix and in Bahrain. He went right up the order and he was a back marker to begin with, and went through those vehicles and moved up the grid as the race went on. So that shows that Ferrari has a competitive vehicle. Carlos Sainz at McLaren, Carlos Sainz at Ferrari, two very different drivers. It's almost like he's going through the color gambit, isn't he? He's trading orange to red.
A Ferrari with a competitive car, and definitely with a competitive driver in Carlos Sainz. Well, he's got a good opportunity to show us, or to stake a claim to be Ferrari's number one driver this weekend. On Sunday is the Italian Grand Prix, the home Grand Prix for the Scuderia.
All right, we said we're going to be talking to Sean Tafirenyika, who went to parts unknown, as they used to say on WWE Wrestling, with the GWMP Series double cab. Sean Tafirenyika, confess your sins, my brother. Where did you go with the truck?
Okay, first of all, I need to say that this truck is absolutely beautiful. So stunning on the outside and on the inside. When I was driving it, people were literally marveling and just, looking at it, and the inside.
It helps because it's huge, isn't it? It's massive. So it is one of those vehicles that takes over the road, really.
Yeah, it made me feel like a big man, and with the tech inside, using the Apple CarPlay, I really stretched that sound system to the max. So I picked up my mother so that I could drive to my parents' house and steal some dinner. And so on my way over there, she was noticing that the sides were blinking inside the car, and she's like, "What's going on?" And I said, "Mom, that's lane keeping assist."
So you're schooling your mom.
Schooling my mom.
She made you dinner, okay? And what are you giving back to your mom? Absolutely nothing. Your final thoughts about the vehicle?
The power. absolutely amazing. When I was driving out back on Mashingo Road, heading back onto Beatrice Road, literally overtaking at times. I was in the speed limit. Let me say that.
No, you weren't.
I was in the speed limit,
Nice.
but I absolutely enjoyed it. Just a smooth ride. It's such a good drive.
Sean, thank you so much. So you heard the 3 points from Sean there. He talked about lane departure assist. He talked about the tech inside the car. What was it? Wireless charging, Apple CarPlay, all sorts. And he loves his music, so it was blaring really loud, I am sure. And then, of course, he talked about the power of the vehicle. That's just a little bit about the GWM P Series double cab. If you want to test and taste it, get down to Zimoko.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want it, I can tell you how much it's going to cost you. It's coming for a song at $43,000 US. And remember, it comes with 3 years or 100,000 kilometer warranty, whichever comes first, and a first free service at 10,000 kilometers. So, like Baz said, visit the Zimoko showroom at Sam Levy's Village, Borodale, for more information and for you to book a test drive.
The Formula One Report is proudly brought to you by Zimoko, the home of F1 brands Mercedes-Benz and Alfa Romeo in Zimbabwe. Zimoko, specialized service for special brands.
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in Wales, where British and Irish Lions head coach Warren Gatland has announced his coaching team for the 2021 tour to South Africa. Gregor Townsend, Robin McBride, Steve Tandy and Neil Jenkins will assist Gatland for the tour to the home of reigning world champion the Springboks, as well as the pre-tour test match against Japan at Murrayfield on the 26th of June. We'll head over to England, where Tyson Fury believes a much-anticipated heavyweight bout with Anthony Joshua will 100% happen, and that a date and venue will be known in the coming days. Representatives of the two British heavyweights are examining offers made by venues to stage the fight. An offer from Saudi Arabia is in place, and Fury says other bids are also under consideration. Let's touch down in the United States, where Steph Curry passed Wilt Chamberlain as the all-time leading scorer in Golden State Warriors history as he erupted for 53 points in a 116-107 victory over the Denver Nuggets early this morning. The Nuggets were left counting the cost of defeat after standout guard Jamal Murray went down with a left knee injury with just under a minute remaining in the game.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. The beating drum. The roaring fans. Take a ride on the wild side with the Africa Report on ZiFM Sport.
CAF Champions League, the top club championship on the African continent, and the quarter-final lineup is complete. Let's give it to you. Out of Group A comes Simba Sports Club of Tanzania. Al Ahly of Egypt joins them. Group B, it's Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa, while Belouizdad of Algeria also are joining them out of Group B. I'm going to skip Group C, and I'll tell you why momentarily. But out of Group D comes Esperance of Morocco and MC Alger of Algeria. Group C, Wydad, Casablanca of Morocco qualify. They are joined by Kaizer Chiefs of South Africa, and they displayed a never say die attitude to come from behind twice and draw 2-2 with Horoya Athletic Club in Conakry on Saturday night to progress to the quarterfinals. This result ensured that Chiefs finished second in Group C with 9 points on a head-to-head ruling level with third place Horoya, and 4 points behind group leaders Wydad Casablanca, who defeated bottom place finishers Petro di Luanda 2-0 in the other game. And a slight sub-note, Mike, Alois, is that the goal that got them through was from the man who didn't participate in the group stages at all until this game, Kama Billiard.
Yeah, it was actually good, especially for us Zimbabweans to actually see the boy coming back. We also missed him for the Zimbabwe national team as well. He comes back, he scores that all-important goal for Kaizer Chiefs, and it was actually quite good, especially also for Southern Africa as well. We got another representative, over and above us and Sundowns as well. So it was actually quite good.
Stop claiming, Alois. Southern Africa, Southern Africa. It's South Africa. Zimbabwe to the
we had our participant MCP.
Okay, guys. I'm also a resident of South Africa, so it's okay. It's okay. But
it's good, and I'm going to stay on that theme, Mike, and talk about the fact that South Africa has 2 participants in the group stages, in the knockout stages of the CAF Champions League, and I think to me it demonstrates how the club football, not necessarily the national team, but the club football in South Africa has moved in leaps and bounds, because you juxtapose that with the DRC. There are 2 representatives, none in the knockout stages.
Yeah, I think South Africa is now at the stage where England was in the 90s and in the early part of the century, where people need to separate the South African league and the national team. So whilst Bafana might be struggling, failing to qualify for AFCON, their league is very vibrant, because their league is not necessarily driven by homegrown players. They're not necessarily South Africans. There are a lot of foreign players who are doing very well for South African teams. You take a look at Shalulile at Mamelodi Sundowns. He's from Namibia. You take a look at the likes of Hoto again at Orlando Pirates. He is from Namibia. You take a look at Kama Billiat at Kaizer Chiefs, the man who scored the goal that sent Kaizer Chiefs into the quarterfinal. He's a Zimbabwean. You can talk about Divine Lunga at Bafana Bafana, the Golden, and all those players. So those are foreign players who have added strength to South African clubs. And so whilst their national team is struggling, their clubs are doing very well. And England went through that period when they were bringing in all these foreign stars, big players, Thierry Henry, Gianfranco Zola, etc., Cristiano Ronaldo. England was struggling.
Yeah.
Because the national team is separate from local football in a country, and people need to realize that. So the South African league right now, one of the strongest on the continent, but their national team not necessarily so.
Not necessarily so. Mike makes a fine point, Chris, in the sense that South Africa has come in leaps and bounds, but we're also seeing potentially, and we'll judge them on what happens on the green grass, not necessarily what happens in the stands and in the hotel. On the come up is Tanzania with Simba Sports Club.
Yeah, Tanzania is also on the come up. We've seen them obviously also doing the same thing South Africa does, which is importing a lot of talent from the rest of the continent, bringing it in and making really good use of it in order to then have a more vibrant league, a more competitive league. And we're seeing that with the number of players that we've seen, first of all, from Zimbabwe alone, going across to Tanzania. So they also have a vibrant league. I think what might mar Simba Sports Club is, like you mentioned, the things that happen off the field that are a little bit dodgy. But I think it's also, again, testament to how good and vibrant their league is.
Yeah, it certainly is. And another vibrant thing that's coming out of South Africa, we've been talking about their vibrancy, is Patrice Motsepe, of course, the CAF president. Now, he's launched a Pan-African School Football Championship, which is to be played in 6 African zones. The South African businessman announced the introduction of the pilot inter-schools competition project in Africa during his weekend visit with the DRC, or to the DRC. And that must certainly grab you, Alois, right where it matters, because you are very, very keen.
And where is that, Barry?
Why, Michael? Why would you ask that? But it's a development that, in truth, you look at it and you think it's so simple. Why haven't we been doing it?
Yeah, Patrice Motsepe, he drinks football, he sleeps. The man loves football and he loves development. He is actually taking something that he has been doing already in South Africa. He has been sponsoring with his Patrice Motsepe Foundation. They've been sponsoring schools football before he was even at Sundowns. So he knows what to do with grassroots. So he is just taking that and taking it into Africa. It's simple, like you are saying. Why haven't we been doing it? It's because we didn't have leadership that had that mindset. Now we have got a leader that has got such a mindset. We can only say we are blessed to actually have such a leader who actually thinks forward, who has got such mindset for football in Africa.
You know what, Alois, I love localizing things, and in truth, if you look at the NASH and NAF delegates to the ZiFM Assembly, that's the National Association of Secondary School Heads and the National Association of Primary School Heads, those should be the most important delegates at the Assembly, on the basis that that's where our development lies if we are serious about football. The boys and girls are going to school. Let's get them there. Let's get them playing there. Patrice Motsepe has done it. Let's see how it goes.
Neymar, Mbappe, Depay, and now Tino Kadewere. Enjoy the taste of the French football on a ZiFM Sport.
All right, let's take you into France, where Christophe Gauthier has admitted to trying to guide Lille to a league untitled this season is his biggest challenge, with the Northerners 3 points clear at the top of the table. Last week's 1-0 win at Paris Saint-Germain left Gauthier's men clear of the reigning champions, currently in second place in the French top flight, with just 7 matches remaining until the end of the season. Mike, 3 matches remaining till the end of the season. It's a relatively realistic proposition that Gauthier would like to take Lille to get that championship.
I think if you'd asked him at the beginning of the season and said, listen, you're going to be 3 points clear of PSG with 3 games left in the season, he would have taken that. He would have ripped your arm off. So this is a good position that Lille find themselves in. And one thing that could assist them is the fact that we talked about in the headlines that PSG is playing Bayern Munich. Now, if PSG remains in the Champions League, it means that there may be a balancing act that they have to perform depending on who they get in the semi-finals. So, for example, if they get a Real Madrid in the semi-finals, if they get a Man City, they might be forced to rest some of their key players, and that could just open the door up for Lille, because Lille have just got one thing in mind, which is winning the league. Whereas PSG will say, okay, if we've knocked out Bayern Munich, we've got a realistic chance of winning the Champions League. So they might rest Mbappe or a Neymar or Di Maria and then drop points in the league. So they have a wonderful opportunity.
Alois, Mike points to the fact that PSG might be forced to do this, and essentially if they were to fight on a particular front, they're going to choose the Champions League and not necessarily the domestic league. So that basically leaves the championship up to Lille and possibly Lyon and AS Monaco.
Yeah, I think you're very right, because there will be divided attention if they focus on in the Champions League as well. If they progress, that is, like Mike was saying, I think the draw says that they will play the winner between Man City and Borussia Dortmund. So that is actually a very tough match that they want to focus on. So for me, I think Lille has got such an advantage that they can actually maintain that 3-point lead, and PSG possibly might drop points by trying to rest some other players so that they can focus on the Champions League.
And in addition to that, Gauthier is actually out of contract at the end of this season, Barry. So that's just additional motivation for him to get this championship, and that's definitely going to secure another contract for him.
It certainly is. And even if Lille opt out, and or he opts out, he and his representatives opt out, with what he's done in France, I think he's poised to get a good job. I'm not going to say he's going to get a job at one of the top clubs in Europe, because I think that they'll be looking at the top tier of managers, but it's certainly building up his reputation as a manager who knows how. Competing with Paris Saint-Germain is not easy on the best of days, and with a team like Lille, looking at their roster, they have no right to be where they are, and yet they are.
And yet they are. We'll keep you posted on that. 7 matches to go in the French league. Zimbabwe players out in France, though. Marshall Munetsi, one of them, he was impressive for Stade de Reims in their goalless draw with Nice. And Tino Kadewere was unfortunately unavailable for Olympic Lyon this past weekend due to injury. There was action last night across the European leagues. We'll start off with the Premier League, where West Brom won 3-0 against Southampton, and Brighton and Everton came to a 0-0 draw. In La Liga, Celta Vigo going down against Sevilla 4-3, and Serie A action was on as well. Sassuolo beating Benevento 1-0, and of course the Bundesliga, Hoffenheim took on Bayer Leverkusen, also came to a 0-0 draw.
Hi, my name is Rudoni Shamba, my Toria's super striker. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
Here's the business stage of the UEFA Champions League, the biggest and most prestigious cup competition in world football. And tonight, the stage is set for arguably the biggest club game of 2021. PSG taking on Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich making the short trip across the border into France. They have a 3-2 deficit. Can they turn it around in Paris? Well, Mauricio Pochettino has urged his side, that's PSG, to demonstrate solidarity and solidity. Let's hear from the former Tottenham Hotspur manager.
No me molesta. Creo que el favorito
Who is favorite doesn't bother me. In theory, the favorite is always the defending champion. the team that has been the champions and the world champions, and the team that has won 6 titles in the last few months. That is so as to respect the team who has won all of that. We do aspire to win the title. We could call ourselves favorites, and then we will have to analyze the circumstances when it comes to each of the teams that will play this round. If we reach the semi-final, it will be important for the club. PSG's aspiration is to win each competition, and that's why every game will be important.
While PSG suffered in Munich last Wednesday with the German champions boasting 31 attempts on goal. But the statistic that mattered at the end of 90 minutes was that PSG had put the ball in the back of the net 3 times, and Bayern had only managed to convert those 31 attempts twice. And of course, Kylian Mbappe was at the forefront, Alois, of that performance, scoring a brace. And when you take a look at the two teams, the one thing that PSG has, perhaps in their favour, is that they've got match winners.
Yeah, of course. That's what PSG has got. They've got players that can actually turn the match around, even if on their off day, as a team, they can actually have 1 or 2 players that can turn on the power and actually win the matches. Like you say, that Bayern Munich had the advantage, but they still lost because they had a match winner who could actually convert chances. So this is what PSG, remember last week I also talked about it, they need to match Bayern Munich for intensity. If they do that, they stand a chance of winning because they've got the stars. If the stars are complacent, then they might not win. But if they just match for intensity, they might just cross the line. And I see that they're going to do it in France. They are at home. They just need to do that because they must also remember that Bayern Munich have got the ammunition to actually overturn this 3-2 deficit. So they don't need to be complacent.
I've talked about Mbappe. He scored a brace. But Neymar was also key to that performance because he had 2 assists in that game. And, people talk about Neymar, that, he can be a bit lightweight, but he can perform in moments and he can be decisive. And this game tonight, I think, will be like that. It will have probably the same pattern as last week. So it will come down to the team that can be decisive in the key moments.
Yeah, listen, let's not judge Neymar on what he doesn't do. Neymar doesn't mark. He's not going to be a destroyer for you. Neymar does what he does very well, and that is to be in the attacking zone, the incision zone, and deliver the passes that need to happen. And we saw it last week. And I like the look of him. If he can deliver that tonight, then we're in for a very entertaining affair. I'm not going to say that PSG is going to actually go through or going to win the match, but it'll be entertaining. And here's why. Aloy says, match them for intensity. It was tough last week because PSG was out on their legs towards the end because it was relentless Bayern Munich attack after attack. You read out the stats in terms of the attempts on goal, and in truth, I don't see anything different tonight.
Chris, if there's one side that can come back, if there's one side that can go to Paris and believe that they are the better side and can win in Paris, it's Bayern Munich.
It's definitely Bayern Munich, and people will point to the fact that they don't have the services of Lewandowski, but one of the things that we consistently talk about when it comes to Bayern Munich is that they don't necessarily work off the back of brilliant individual performances. What they work off of is that entire team effort. It's that swell of goals from multiple places, and this is one of those opportunities where we'll likely see that big delivery of goals, and in order to save the situation, the only team that probably be able to do it is definitely Bayern Munich.
We want to hear your predictions. Send us your thoughts right now on Twitter as well as on WhatsApp. And Barry, I'm sure the messages are starting to stream in.
They are streaming in. Kwaina Master Bex, he says, Bayern Munich 2, PSG 2 tonight. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Master Bex out. Well, Master Bex, if that comes through, then PSG will go through to the next round. This one says it's going to be an uphill task for Bayern to win by 2 clear goals. So I reckon PSG will go through together with Chelsea. Ryan in Mutare. Well, you haven't got long to wait, Ryan. We're all going to see how that one is going to roll. This one is just a compliment to you guys in the studio. Pierre Makusha in Warren Park says, I'm enjoying your show very much. Kudos to Kaiser Chiefs for qualifying for the Champions League. Tonight, I fear for PSG, they could be hammered like never before. They will need to play a nearly perfect game and guard against complacency, but my heart wants them to go through.
Well, that's not the only game that's on tonight. Chelsea have got 1 foot in the semi-final after winning 2-0 in the first leg versus Porto. And so Chelsea will be looking to complete the job, to finish the job tonight, and to make sure that Tuchel remains in the hunt for silverware this season. And what a glorious couple of months it has been for the German since taking over the Stamford Bridge hot seat. This is ZiFM Sport, your favorite station, as we sign off. Your predictions, guys, for the big game. Alois, PSG, are you backing them as you did last week?
Yeah, I'm backing them, but the big stars, they might be complacent, so I'm looking at a 2-2 draw. I agree with the other guy that predicted a 2-2 draw.
Was that guy from Mutare?
Master
Bets.
I agree. I thought he was from Mutare. Chris, what are you from, Chris? Chris, I know you've got eternal belief and faith in Bayern Munich.
I've got eternal faith and belief in Bayern Munich. I think there's going to be at least a couple of goals from them, but I still think PSG managed to seal this in the first leg.
Right. I'm back in Bayern Munich. Remontada. I think it's a comeback. It's on. And I think they might win 3-1.
I can't argue with you, Mike. I actually believe it's going to be 4-1 in favor of Bayern Munich.
Yes.
I'm not going to go to the extent of this message that we've just got, which says Bayern 6. PSG 1.
But don't take our advice and go to the betting shops, please.
You might lose your money. We've got to go. We'll be back tomorrow 5 after 6 for Wacky Wednesday. Don't miss it. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.